We got another job here. Takes a 1 1/16 socket, which I bought at the flea market because my socket set didn't go up that big. And some of the good, I like this blue Teflon tape. And to shut the water off. And gonna have to drain the water heater because I got to pull that plug right there. Trying to show you what I'm up to here. So I bought a bottle of this at Walmart. I don't know, it's like $5 for a quart. About a quart of that lacquer thinner goes a long way. So what I'm using it for is you get a lot of stubborn stains on an RV. Sometimes you get stuff like this. It's could even be old caulking from the factory. And there isn't a lot of things that cut it, but there's very few things that lacquer thinner won't cut. So you can see it comes off like nothing with lacquer thinner. You just have to be really careful where you put lacquer thinner because it's lacquer thinner. It can take the paint right off. But I had this nasty, we were on our 10,000 mile trip last year. We must have got into some tar or something on the road, and the truck must have thrown it up onto the camper on this side. And I should have taken a before picture because it was all the way up into here. So just a little bit of that lacquer thinner on my rag here, and I've been working at it, and I'll tell you, it takes some elbow grease. But if you keep working at it, I need to, you can see how it kind of dissolves it, and then eventually you can get it to completely come off. But all these little specks, and they're all the way down into there, they're coming off. But it's going to take some elbow grease and a little bit of time. But we're trying to clean the camper up because we're going to be sitting in a high-end resort here pretty soon. That's where we're going to be working. So we don't want it to look bad when we pull in there. We start having neighbors and people that we're working for again. You want to have a good presentation. So probably a week or two ago, I cleaned up the back stairs over here and I repainted those. And they don't look so good now because we've been using them. Of course, they're all covered with leaves here, but they do clean up well, and you don't see the rust and stuff coming through on the sides and underneath and stuff like you did. But it doesn't take long and it starts coming back out again. Well, you'll see if you look at even brand new campers on the lot, when they get those ready for a customer to take delivery, they have to go around with the regular black spray paint, Rust-Oleum or whatever they get, and they have to spray paint all that stuff because just sitting in the yard at an RV place, bumpers and anything that's metal like this, well, they're starting to replace these stairs with aluminum, and that's the best thing they could do. We don't have a bumper on this one. This camper, this style doesn't have a bumper, but any of the metal, like the top part of the jacks, the bottom feet of the jacks, any of that stuff, it gets really rusty, and you could be looking at maintenance even with a brand new one. I was working at an RV garage in Plattsburgh, New York as a salesman at one point, and that was one of the things we had to do, is go around with the paint and paint the stairs and paint anything that was showing rust. So I've got a big spot on this that I'm going to have to deal with that here pretty soon. I'll show you. So we've got rust underneath here. That's the monitor for my thermometer in there. That gives you my outdoor temperature. I just stick it underneath there. But look at underneath the frame.
Across the street, across the state, across the country. Call 1-833-2MOVE-YOU. That's 1-833-2MOVE-YOU.
And this camper is a 2014, so it really doesn't take long for these things to get rusty. And if you don't do regular maintenance, they'll just look like crap in no time. Here's another spot that's always needing to be painted. So I've been working over on this side. My water heater was leaking. I had to find the right size socket for the plug, and I did, and now I've got this stuff to contend with where the water heater was leaking. So, you know, people might think that living in an RV, you get rid of your sticks and bricks house like a lot of people do, that your troubles are over. Well, you know what? I might not have to mow any lawns or anything, or a house to paint, but there's definite maintenance that has to go on, even if people go full time and get rid of a regular house. This is now your house, and if you want it to last, you are constantly having to take care of it. It's probably not as much as if you have a house, but it is stuff that seems to need constant attention. I found a good spot to show you how well lacquer thinner works on stuff. This is where the factory had put a sticker right on the finish of this camper. So let me see what I can do here. Try to film this as I work. There you have it, folks. The wonders of lacquer thinner. So that'd been on there since I owned this camper. It'd be 5 years this next August, and I had never found anything else that would take it off. But obviously lacquer thinner does, and you could kind of see how it has to break down that glue, and the glue is really thick on this. Then you'd get these big gobs of glue that would come loose, and you just got to keep working it, try to get those out of the way, and eventually it'll come clean. And what I like to do after I take off something like that is I'll take some really good wax and I'll wax the heck out of that spot, and I'll clean it up a little bit more and then protect it, because when you use lacquer thinner, this whole camper when we bought it had a protective, almost like a clear coat on it, and it will take a lot of that off. So that's the downside of using lacquer thinner. You do have to be really careful with it, but it is great for cleaning up, like you see how this molding is, that spot and up here. And again, if you use lacquer thinner, just be careful, because you don't want to take the factory caulking off, and it would easily take the factory caulking off of that. So you just want to clean the top part of it, and once you do one spot, it makes it look like you need to do all the rest. So keep that in mind. See how dirty it is behind these slides? I mean, all of this needs to be cleaned, and you'd be amazed how fast it'll get dirty again. And a lot of it depends on where you're parked, but things get pretty dirty around here in a hurry. And now I look at this front on this side, and it looks like I picked up some of that tar too. So I've got my work cut out for me. As you can see, Roxy the Wonder Dog, she's got 2 Frisbees here now, and that's really all she wants to do is play. But we can kind of play in between cleaning today, right, Rox? Say goodbye to all the YouTubers, Roxy. Roxy, say goodbye. Say goodbye. So, I just got done saying how you can have maintenance to do. We got another job here. Takes a 1 1/16 socket, which I bought at the flea market because my socket set didn't go up that big. And some of the good, I like this blue Teflon tape. And to shut the water off. And gonna have to drain the water heater, because I got to pull that plug right there, because we got a drip that's making one heck of a mess. You can still see it dripping. I tightened this up this morning hoping that that was going to solve my problem, and it did slow it down, but yeah, not enough. If I'm going to clean this up out here, I don't want that to still be dripping. So I'm going to pull this out, I'm going to clean it all up, I'm going to re-Teflon it, I'm going to put it back together, and let's hope for the best, because look how corroded this thing is. It's not good. This camper is less than 5 years old, and that's a 12-gallon electric and propane water heater, and we don't really want to be replacing that anytime soon if we can help it. So stay tuned and we'll see if it works. So when you pull that plug, it has a little bit of pressure behind it because it's a pressurized water system. So you got to kind of stand out of the way and let the pressure die down. Then you're going to lose all the water in your hot water tank. So it gives that a good flush. But anode rod, however you pronounce it. Looks really clean. I had just replaced this year with a brand new one. You can see it's a pretty new plug. So it took off all the old Teflon tape, and we'll throw that away. And we'll put fresh on there and see if we can clean that nastiness out a little bit. Maybe take some sandpaper to it or something. You gotta be careful, you don't want to mess up those threads. And put it back together and see if we can get it to stop leaking. Here we are. I pulled that plug and you can see there's a fresh coating of it. And now we're ready to tighten it up and we will see what happens, see if it still leaks or not. So it's tightened up and the water's going back in, but here's what I'm worried about. Right down underneath here looks like where the water was seeping out of. Now if this was the problem, it'd be coming from up here, but sometimes it's hard to tell if it's just running down there. But that looks a little moist even right now. This has all been dried. So I don't know if that's the case. It could be all this corrosion that you see around that plug area is causing it to actually leak. That is not going to be good.
So the next project of the day.
So Christina.
So Douglas, we just clean the stairs, and we do this every now and then. Clean up the stairs and try to protect them from the rust and everything. He is the master of spray paint.
Oh man, I got from the Picasso of spray paint. Yeah, did a lot of graffiti in Miami.
Graffiti?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, graffiti. Yeah.
It's not graffiti.
Graffiti, I did some of that too.
You don't have to talk about that one.
Oh yeah. There.
Alright, so we'll show you the end result.
I think we'll get the
I'll be channeling the chicken spirit for my happy wanderers. Happy wanderers. Thanks for coming to Dollywood. Y'all good. Bye, honey.
Bye-bye.
Bye.